Welcome to the Space Jam.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerd Holes. Will and I are starting a new series, just a little short series this time, where we're gonna look back at some things from the '90s that we remember watching as kids. So the premise is that Will said, "Hey, let's talk about things that we used to watch like as kids religiously, and that we have like forgotten about."
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hard concept to remember things that you've forgotten about completely. But doing so, I had this. I was just saying, you described it a couple of weeks ago where I showed you something. I think it was like some. I think we were talking about Transformers, and I was telling you about like the little like Transformers that did turned into like little robots that like went in and like gave them upgrades.
Yeah.
And you described it as like the Matrix, where like they plug the thing into your brain and you're just like immediately like download like all of the information.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about stuff from when I was a kid, and I had this thing in the back of my brain. I could see a parrot flying through a museum, and this music, do 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 do. And it just kept replaying in the back of my brain, and I was like, "What was that? What was that?" And so I did some research, and it was funny because when I found it, I don't even remember that being like what it was called. So it's called Eyewitness. It is a British documentary series.
Yeah.
And my school in the library had VHSs that you could rent and take home.
Yeah.
And I would take one home every Friday and watch it over the weekend. And I think I've watched all of these, the Eyewitness series. I don't remember it being called Eyewitness, but I remember like their logo is the eye.
Yeah.
And the intro is the parrot flying through the museum. And, you know, every VHS, they do like a specific like thing. They do like a specific topic. So we watched the one on sharks, because that's the one I remember probably watching the most as a kid.
Yeah.
I loved sharks growing up. Like that's my bookshelf was full of books on sharks, and you know, I mean, I loved Shark Week and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that stuff is all ruined now. It's all gone. Shark Week is a joke. Discovery Channel is a joke. It's like all this stuff from my childhood that I loved. It's been destroyed.
Yeah. Sadly.
It's just and Shark Week used to be like really informative, and it would like tell you like new things, like scientists were discovering new things, and every year there'd be like these new like documentaries about stuff. And then it just became, they just wanted views.
Yeah.
And it became like they did one year they came out with like down there in Africa where the great whites jump out of the water to like catch seals.
Yeah.
Like all the air jaws. And the first time you see it, you're like, man, that's amazing. And people loved it. So then the next year they did Air Jaws 2. And you're like, okay. And then the next year they did Air Jaws 3. And I was like, oh. So it became this thing for like ratings and reviews.
Yeah.
So then they even started making like mockumentaries where like they make like fake things like, hey, what if this happened? What if there was a megalodon and this like film crew got attacked? And it's like these fake mockumentaries, like they're supposed to be real, but they're fake. They did one on like mermaids, and
oh wow.
So that's what Shark Week is now. It's basically Sci-Fi Channel. It's basically Sharknado is what it is. It's no information, no nothing. So As a kid, I would rent these Eyewitness documentaries and I'd watch them. And it's funny. I don't remember what year this shark one specifically came out.
It was like, I have it in my phone here. It's November something, November in the 90s. Let me look it up.
Wow.
That's how I knew which one to do. November 94 was when it aired, or at least was available.
94. Okay. Yeah. So I'm looking at it right here. So the actual like documentaries, like you're saying 94 to 97 is when they ran.
Yeah, I think this is like episode 12 of season 1, right? Something like that.
Yep. So they originally ran on the BBC, and then in the US they aired on PBS.
Okay.
Is what Wikipedia is saying. So let me see. Shark is episode 9, October 3rd, 94.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I used to watch all these. I'm looking at these right now. They had one on cats and fish, horses. So
when I watched that on YouTube, I saw like the skeleton. It was like, watch next skeleton, and I was like,
yeah, it's the same one that popped up for me. That's funny. But honestly, so it was a toss up between like the shark one and the dinosaur one. I remember the dinosaur one like all the time, like watching the dinosaur one.
I do think, for me personally, knowing you as a friend and then eventually a brother-in-law, I do think the shark thing lends more to your youth.
Yeah.
Because I remember even like when we first met like 15 years ago, I remember you being like, you had like a shark tooth something.
Probably a necklace or yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it lends better than the dinosaurs. I mean,
I have one on my desk. My parents bought me this petrified great white tooth.
Yeah.
That I keep on my desk.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It is pretty cool. I've always wanted a megalodon tooth, but they're like super expensive. So what I should do, I should just make a big one out of foam and just hang it up.
Just hang it, yeah.
You know what's funny? I have wanted to for a long time now. I have wanted to make like an actual set of like jaws. You know how people hang like the jaw, the full jaw and the teeth up on their walls. I was like, man, that would be kind of fun to make and hang up on the wall. But
yeah. Well, you'll do it during Shark Week when you want to show those people up. No, I won't.
I should make a set of jaws and just give out like shark facts. It would be more educational than anything Discovery's put out.
See?
Yeah, I'm coming around to it.
Okay. Or if you can completely ignore Shark Week, can you just put it out on the anniversary of Jaws?
Well, we're doing that Lego set on the anniversary.
That's true.
That's got to be one's coming out.
I would hope.
There's no release date on that baby yet.
They never know. They just want to see if people. They just put pictures out to be like, "Hey, how many people would be interested in doing this?" And then everybody's like, "Everyone," and they're like, "Okay, in 12 years, we'll
$300."
Yeah.
Yeah, Lego is another company. They came back from the brink of like bankruptcy, and the guy that like ended up becoming president, he's like, "Why don't we have partnerships with anybody?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "We got this yellow guy. He's got a hard hat, and he does." And the guy's like, "Yeah, but what about like Marvel and Disney and Star Wars would be pretty popular?" And they're like, "You want us to make Legos that look like franchises and like famous stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, the partnership would cost us like millions of dollars." And he's like, "Yeah, but we could sell millions of boxes for $400 or $500 a piece." And they're like, You
do have to admit, though, the skeleton Lego guys are pretty cool.
Oh, dude, yeah. So again, growing up, the original Legos, I had the space set. I had the underwater set that came with the shark and the scuba divers. I had all that stuff. Loved it. The little like speedboat.
Yep.
I had all that stuff. The Knights. It was Lego Knights
Yeah, Lego Knights. Yeah, oh yeah.
and the Lego space set, and that was like my favorite.
Yeah, I had like the Lego Knights. I had some Ninja guys, and I had
Oh yeah, the Ninja Dudes.
um and then you had your random like construction guys, but I had like cowboys too.
Mm-hmm. I
I had like
remember those two.
old west stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
But
I used
then
to play Legos. I used to play with Legos like a lot as a kid.
I did too.
A
Yes.
lot.
The Knight, I remember specifically like the Knights being super cool, like the way like the helmet would slide up. It worked the same way like the space helmet came down, the little
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
visor
It's like the
piece.
visor. Yeah,
That would be a fun build, like making like a life size like Knight helmet, like Lego version.
oh yeah, that would yeah, like making like a Lego whatever big size.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could do the space helmet, but it'd just be a ball. It's just a ball with like a little visor piece.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, sharks.
Sure.
So we watched this documentary last night, and I haven't seen it in a long time. And the thing that struck me like right off the bat was like how little information kind of
Yeah,
they
kind of.
they had.
Yeah,
There was these things that like are kind of outdated thoughts. Obviously, like things get outdated and
sure.
like theories and science proves things, differently, but
Yeah,
they spent more time talking about like the history of like indigenous cultures and like
yeah.
their thoughts on like
Yes,
sharks. And
yes.
like I was like, man, this is kind of weird.
It was pretty bizarre, and I was like, at first when I was watching it, I was like, "What does Caleb like about this?" But then I had to remember, like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, he's watching it as a child. Because when
I
I
was.
first started to get
Yeah,
into it, I was like, they're like, and the Polynesian people made these replicas, and they called
they
her
had
Lady.
the Titi Masal god, and she was married to the shark god of Papua New Guinea. And they believed if you kissed the shark on his snoot, everyone would be fine. And you're like, what is this? Even I was like, what? I can't believe my parents even let me watch this as a kid.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But then I was like, well, yeah, but as a kid, like, of course,
Yeah.
like, who cares? Like, you're just seeing images of sharks and stuff.
Yeah, you're just watching sharks swim around and bite and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I did like the point in the thing that that guy really emphasized, like, sharks are only biting, like, they're like, no, they're not like this, they're not like this, they're not like this. And then he was like, well, they could confuse you with things, and that's why they're biting you.
Yeah.
But I just like that they really tried to, they come from the rather than what you were saying, which was like, watch them destroy this thing. It was like,
Yeah.
no, they're animals that are, misunderstood, and they're just kind of like made to be scary things when they're not
Yeah.
really.
They're not meant, they should be respected, not feared, basically. It's like but that's
Right.
kind of always the message of like any shark documentary.
True.
And again, going back to like Shark Week, that's the kind of the stuff that people like to watch. People are like fascinated by like shark attacks and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they're going to show that stuff more.
Right.
And that
Right.
just scares people more. But like, that's not what sharks are about. I mean,
Right.
they're not malicious. They don't attack you and eat you just because. It's always like mistaken identity, or there's, other specific circumstances. And the thing that's always made me mad, even as a kid, I remember like hating, is like over in Japan and I think Asia, they make shark fin soup.
Oh yeah.
And so they literally will catch sharks, and they'll just cut off their dorsal fin and their side fins, and then
Yeah.
just throw them back in the water. Like alive. They do that alive. They don't like use the rest of the shark. They don't like use the meat or anything off it. They just like cut their fins off and throw them back in the water. And they basically drown to death because they can't swim. So they literally just will like sink to the bottom or be like eaten alive by other like sharks. And it's like awful. And it's because they think that like the shark fins have like this special something. I forget what
like
it is.
medicinal or some sort of
It's some medicinal thing. Yeah.
yeah. Which they touch on. They touch on making soup in this
Yeah.
thing, but again, it was like,
Yeah.
like
They
it's
didn't
not
really get into
really
like
necessary.
the specifics of it. Yeah.
Right.
It was like, yeah, it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool thing I liked was how many different sharks even I didn't know about. Like I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. Because like that one they said was they called like a living fossil. They said
Oh
that one
yeah.
was like a really old type of shark. And that one
Yeah.
was like his huge mouth. He had like a big,
Yeah.
I
The
forgot
mega
what they
mouth.
called them. Yeah, big okay, big it was just like
Yeah.
you were just flying through and
Yeah. So like the basking shark and the mega mouth are two of like the bigger species of sharks, and they like just swim around and they just eat like krill and stuff.
yeah,
And
that's pretty wild.
I saw a basking shark in person. We went on a whale watch off the
Oh,
coast of Cape, and there was this huge basking shark like next to the boat. It was crazy. It was
wow.
really cool to see it like out in the ocean. And it was just swimming along,
That's cool.
eating. And I've
Yeah,
always wanted to go like swim with whale sharks. Like that would be
oh yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that the image of them with the swimmers in the water was pretty wild, like how massive he was.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen the whale sharks too at the Georgia Aquarium. And that's
Oh, okay.
it's pretty amazing. Honestly, it's like it's pretty incredible, those things.
They the other really cool thing that I liked that I didn't, because I know sharks, but I'm not fully educated on them. The thing that I really liked was how they explained the gills.
Yeah.
And that they were like, well, sharks have to move to live, and it's like, no, that's not really the case. And
Yeah,
it,
I still believed that was true. It's funny, like this thing came out in the 94, and he said that, and I was like, I don't know if that's true. I thought that was a thing. I mean, there's certain species of sharks that are bottom dwellers and they don't. But I thought
yeah,
like your big like oceanic sharks had to perpetually move to filter out
I
the
mean, it could be
oxygen
a
to the
thing
water.
that in the 35, whatever it would be, 30 years, like, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
something came out where, you know, more information came out and they're like, yeah, well, some sharks do have to perpetually move to stay alive. It could be
yeah.
that. But that was kind of interesting.
It's amazing too. They kind of cover it too. It's amazing that like um, there's not like a whole lot of like footage on like breeding practices or like
Oh yeah.
birthing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's still kind of a thing today. Like I don't think anybody's ever seen like that both of those things like with great whites or like the bigger species.
It was pretty wild, man. I was really interested and I wish they went further into it rather than talk about random other
Mhm.
like people's feelings about sharks and belief systems. I was
Yeah,
thinking talk more about like how these eggs work. Cause like
yeah,
that one shark like wrapping it around the thing
yeah,
and like depositing it and then like how they just looked like at first I was like, well, what's the egg? Right? Because I thought at first when she was going around it, I thought the like weird slimy stuff on the branch or whatever that
mhm,
was like the egg that she was somehow wrapping. But then as she continued to move, you could see it was this long thing, and I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's the emperor! Like that's the egg. That's the shark
So
is in
they used to call those mermaid purses.
there." Oh,
That's kind of what they would look like. It would look like this little like bag with like the
oh,
strapping, and they
okay,
were like they hang on the uh like the floor bed and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. I
It's
didn't. I
interesting. It's interesting that like at first they say like yeah, sharks are, they give live they all do live birth, and
yeah.
then like a minute later like and some of them lay eggs. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was to be fair, I don't I don't really search it out. I don't go looking for that.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've, at least to my memory, I've never really seen fish or those type of things like give birth. So it
Yeah.
was like really crazy to see, like just having that other female shark like swimming, and then all of a sudden it was just like, and now other baby sharks are just coming out
Yeah.
and like, swimming around. I was like,
What's
whoa,
interesting too is that like because sharks are like such like a perfect like predator, as soon as
yeah,
like the pups are born, like live born, they are immediately like they're on their own. Like they
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
they
Yeah, it
have
was
to like
pretty.
you survive or you don't. I mean, it's like it's pretty it's pretty harsh.
Yeah,
And there's been footage too. They've had footage of like inside like the womb. I'll have to
yeah.
send it to you. There's been footage of that where you can see the sharks are born inside the womb, and one is born early, and he literally like eats his like siblings
Oh,
to like stay alive. So like as soon as they're born,
ready to
they're
eat.
like, yeah, they're survival of the fittest.
Hmm,
So yeah, it's kind of cool.
it was.
But yeah, they talked a lot about like other cultures' beliefs on sharks and stuff. And it's I like knowing what other people think, or like from like the dawn of time, what their view towards
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sharks are.
I think it was just a thing where it's like that's fine, but it was like this is a thing about sharks and not human like mythology or
Right.
history. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
it'd be like, okay, we're gonna learn about like volcanoes and how they work and what happens, and then it would be like, but first we're gonna talk about what
Yeah.
the ancient Greeks believed, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It is true. The interesting fact that they brought up too is that more people have died from like shark injuries, but it's literally because like humans have made like shark teeth into like weapons.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And they've always given that statistic that like you're more likely to get attacked. You're more likely to get struck by lightning than like
Yeah,
being
I think they
shark
said
attacked.
what like back then in the 90s, it was like what, 7 a year? 7 people died a year of shark
Yeah.
attacks.
So yeah. So last summer, remember there was a couple things that like you would hear about last summer. Like there was a couple main like shark attacks, like up in the Cape area,
Yeah,
and they were like people would be like they got bit by like some small sharks. There wasn't like anything crazy.
right.
But I remember like the news article came out and they're like shark attacks have doubled in the past 40 years. And you're like, "Oh man." And you looked at the numbers, they broke the numbers down. And like you said, in this documentary from the 90s, it said there was 7 a year. And then in last summer of 2022, it was 12. I was like, "Oh, okay. Wow."
Yeah,
So it's like not even one extra a year, like for the past 30 years. It's like nothing. And they're not
right, right.
fatal. They haven't been fatal. There's like a few. There's probably like 2 or 3 a year that are like fatal.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, humans, we encroach on their
Oh yeah,
space, and we dump stuff in
absolutely.
the ocean. We basically chum the ocean, and then people go swimming in the same area, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
a
I mean,
mix. It's a lot of mix of bad stuff.
it's the same thing with anything, like even bears, like in our area, where it's like, oh well, bears are breaking into things, they're hurting people or killing people. It's like, well, yeah, it's because our mankind is like expanding where they live. So it's like you're
Yeah.
naturally encroaching on his habitat. So he's going to be closer to where people live. Like it's just a natural,
Yeah, and
oh
then
well,
people feed them, or leave their
Right,
garbage
right.
out, and so they're gonna take an easy meal other than hunting. So it's like
Yeah,
you're almost programming these bears to like come in to the city and like eat garbage.
right.
You're ruining everything about their like natural ability.
And I think too, the thing I liked was that I think he said scientists or marine biologists believe that like sharks don't even really like the taste of human flesh.
No,
It's just a thing that they're just like, what's this? Oh, no, I don't want that.
very rarely does anybody get like eaten alive.
Yeah.
What
Well,
will
it's like,
happen is like someone will get bitten, and
yeah,
then the shark will taste it and be like, "Oh, that's not a seal." but like the
Yeah.
bite is what kills you because they're huge, you know?
Right. I like the two things with that was the story about they had like the tail of the guy getting like swallowed and then regurgitated. That was pretty
Yeah.
funny. And then the
I
other
don't even
one,
know if that even checks out. I don't.
yeah, probably not, but who knows? But and the other one was I like that animation that they had of the shark like shedding its teeth.
Oh, the teeth, yeah.
I like how it like is like a conveyor belt where it's like they push them out. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. I knew they did that, but like to see it like
Seeing it.
animated was cool.
Yeah, again, it just shows like that's why they're the perfect predator. I mean, if they break a tooth, they just grow back, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing else does that in like the animal kingdom.
No.
Like if a lion broke both of its like teeth, like big canine, well, they're not called canines in
Yeah, I know what you mean.
feline, but like they're probably gonna die from that
Yeah.
because they can't eat or they can't,
Yeah, I mean they would just go and then the other lion would just overtake him because he's stronger.
yeah. Yeah, sharks are cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's always kind of been on my bucket list to go cage diving,
Oof.
but I don't think I would have the like I would be scared to death to do that, like when it came down to it.
I think if you were like cage diving with the like more docile ones and the more like the whale shark and stuff that they don't even care about big fish,
Yeah.
like they just eat, like you said, they just eat like krill and shrimp and like small things.
Yeah.
I think those ones I wouldn't mind being in a cage with, like going down with like hammerheads and like blue sharks and great whites. I don't think I would like I'd be super excited about that.
Well, that's the thing though. If you're gonna cage dive, you gotta see a great white. I mean, that's kind of the whole
Yeah.
and you're like, oh well, it's safe, you're in a cage. But I've seen a lot of videos where the shark will go in to like eat the bait and turn just right and fits in between like the filming like bar.
Oh yeah.
And then now like the whole shark, like half of the shark is in the crate, in the cage doing this.
Yeah.
And like the divers are still in there. It's just this giant like great white mouth doing this. It's like, oh yeah, I don't want that to happen either.
Yeah. Yeah, because they show in the video too that like the way that they jut, like his mouth shoots forward. So it's
Yeah.
like even if he was just out of your reach, like all he has to do is like slam his head a certain way and his teeth
Yeah.
are right there.
Yeah, their like jaw like opens and then like comes out of their
Right.
like lips essentially. It's like their whole jaw comes like extends out and it's like it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, that's a cool.
It's one of those things I can't imagine. It's like it's enough to kind of keep me out of the ocean. I honestly I'd only go in the ocean like if we're cruising and it's like crystal clear like water.
Yeah.
But it's like the two things I'm like the most scared of is like drowning, running out of air, and being attacked by a shark. And it's like they kind of both go hand in hand.
They do. Yeah. Because if he bites off your feet, you're not getting back to the surface. So
Yeah. Yeah, it would suck. It would suck. Well, the other thing too is like you get bit and then you're out in the middle of the ocean still, and it's like all this blood in the water brings in more sharks, and now you're just like all these sharks are like circling you. It's just like,
yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting to kind of go through and watch this.
I like that
I'll
it was
have
a
to-
thing from your library day. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So here as a kid, I would, I took out I took out like the one book on Bigfoot. I took out the one book on Loch Ness Monster, and then like all of these DVDs, the documentary DVDs. That's why I'm the
Yeah.
way I am. I mean, Sundays are like a great Sunday for me, right? Is I go to the local deli, I get a sub, I come home and I watch how it's made or a
Yeah.
documentary on something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good Sunday right there. I've always loved documentaries, honestly.
Yeah. No, me too. I like when they talk about something that you really just are so unfamiliar with about, and then you get this big insight into it, and you're like, oh, like that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, there's been some really good ones. This would be I wouldn't recommend this one if it's like your if it's on your like your documentary list. Like it's so outdated now that there's been so many other good like documentaries on sharks.
Yeah. That's okay. It's all
I
right.
gotta go now. I gotta watch the dinosaur one. See if it's better or if I
It's
like
gonna be
it
funny. You're
better.
gonna go watch it, and you're gonna be like, "We should have done a dinosaur."
You should have done the dinosaur. I love dinosaurs. I don't even like sharks. You know what I noticed too is interesting about this is like the CGI is pretty good in this.
Yeah, not
Like
too
it's
bad.
not like it didn't feel like a 90s thing,
No.
Like you can tell like when they're CGI, but they specifically like show like remember the part where like the sharks swim like through like the museum door
Oh
into the other
yeah,
door and then back through. It's almost seamless,
yeah. He turns around and he's like, "You know what? I don't want to go in the ocean. I want to go back in the lava."
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. A lot better CGI than I was expecting.
Agreed. It was
But
good.
yeah, it was fun. And it's probably one of our shortest episodes because like really not a lot to talk about. It's just
Yeah, I mean it's under a half an hour, and
yeah.
probably 3 minutes of it is just like credits and introductory stuff. Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop,
Even at the
boop.
end, that trumpet or whatever it was at the
Oh,
end was like,
it's great. And that's literally what was in my brain. I was like the intro and the outro, and I was like, yeah, I remember that. It's like it's like when you found the Mario movie in the backyard and you heard the drum beat. It's like Jumanji. It's like when you hear
Yeah.
the banging drums of Jumanji.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the shark documentary.
Yeah.
So in the next so that was mine. So next time we're gonna cover one of Will's
Right.
movies.
We're gonna cut to me, and it's gonna be about basically less than a year later, a movie that came to the theaters called The Indian in the Cupboard, which I literally have not seen. I still didn't have at this point, haven't rewatched it. I probably haven't seen it since 95, 96. And
Yeah.
it came on my radar because of one thing, and I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't want to spoil it.
The
And I
anniversary of the
couldn't
book.
I couldn't believe the thing that was in it, and I had totally forgotten
Oh,
about it. There's something in the movie that I never saw. I thought I would see ever, even to this day. I don't think I'll still see it, and it's in this movie.
huh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've seen
Right.
Indian covered. It's gonna be like Johnny Depp was the Indian, and then he went on to play Tanto in the Lone Ranger.
Oh
Tonto.
yeah. So that'll be
Yeah.
next time. We're not doing these as We're not doing these in quick succession because we have a lot
No.
of other content. So
No, these will be spread throughout. These will
Spread
be
out,
little
yeah.
filler episodes in between.
yeah, little things that keep your attention.
Yeah.
But like Caleb said, which is a cool thing that I think we're legitimately going to honestly try to do. It's just it's a who knows when game. Is Lego is releasing at some juncture a Jaws Lego set with the orca boat and Jaws and the guys.
Yeah.
So
Looks awesome.
I think we're gonna try to find a way of getting it because those things are not cheap. And then we're gonna break it up into like a kind of a basically like a buddy builds like you get, but it'll be with Legos and
Yeah.
it'll be fun. It'll be
Yeah,
kind
I
of
would-
like a buddy builds for our younger audience, like this is kind of. So
It'd be fun. I don't know. I either do like a couple parts on like a buddy builds, or I was thinking even too doing like just do like a live stream build and answer questions
Oh,
if
yeah.
people are interested
That's
in
right.
that.
I forgot.
But I mean
forgot
that
we
kind of
had
depends
questions.
on if if people want to. So if you're watching this, put in the comments if you want to do like a live stream like Q&A while we build Legos, or just want to just watch us do it.
Yeah.
That's up to you. That's up to the audience. Either way, it'd be fun for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that we talked about that. Yeah, so
Yeah, it was a working guy. It was a working idea. Oh. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
yeah,
hopefully it comes out this year at some point.
it'd be nice.
Isn't there an anniversary of Jaws coming up?
Yeah, I think in a
This
couple
year?
weeks, but I don't think that they're releasing it
Oh.
any that soon.
Wow. You got to start telling me all these anniversaries of movies so I can start planning videos around them, because I don't.
Oh wow, you have just opened the door to everything.
Well, because because we were joking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I should do a video for that." And you're like, "Oh, let me see, let me look at it." You looked it up, and you were like, "Oh, it's this Friday." This Friday. And I was like, "That
Yeah.
is ridiculous."
I look forward to seeing the couch.
Well, you should have already seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you won't see it. But next year is the 35th anniversary of Honey.
Yeah,
Shrunk the Kids.
so right.
So you might see it on the 35th anniversary. That I might be able to swing.
Yeah. I gotta
Good
find a way to
movie.
film something for you, me hanging on to something, just screaming. It'd be really funny.
No.
No.
Oh man, we should have talked about that. That was a movie I watched growing up like religiously, and then
It was
didn't
on
watch it
mine
later.
too. It was on mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a hard thing. It's a hard. I remember watching a lot of stuff as a kid and liking it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, I think the caveat that makes us go with what we're going with is it was things that we used to watch all the time, or like as you put, like religiously, we watched
Yeah.
it constantly, but forgot that we watched it.
And they weren't like super like popular or cult classics either.
Right.
Because it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, I grew up watching Back to the Future all the time." Like, well,
Right.
yeah, so did a lot of people.
So did a lot of people, right?
But I bet you nobody else has watched Eyewitness but me and now
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah. Hey, and the good news is it was on YouTube for free.
they're all
So
on
Eyewitness
YouTube.
Shark. You can just watch it yourself. So don't even
Yeah,
gotta
check
have
it out.
a streaming platform. You can just watch it for free.
You will love it.
Love it.
So yeah, so that will do it. That'll do it for this episode. And yeah, stay up to date, like the video, subscribe if you're interested, and the bell is always a good idea. I know a lot of times, like for me, like on channels that I'm subscribed to, like I won't see their post unless like you specifically ring the bell. YouTube likes to do that.
And I think too, write down in the comments if there's something that you remember as a kid, like if this spurred your memory into being like, oh man, I remember this thing. Like tell us what it is.
Yeah. If you had a Matrix plug-in moment, Let us know. I'm gonna try to use that music. It's probably copyright, but it's
Oh
also
yeah, I'm sure the
probably
BBC.
they might not even care. Honestly, what do they care? Not Doctor Who, so they don't care if you use it.
That's true.
That's all they have,
Or,
right? Is Doctor.
Yeah, it's Doctor Who and the cop show. I can't think of what it's called. Broadchurch.
Oh, yeah. And then Sherlock, but they don't do that anymore. So
Oh, that's true, Sherlock. Yeah,
they
Well,
did the
no,
last season with his sister, and they were like, "Yeah, let's not do any more
we don't want to do
Sherlock."
this anymore.
What a weird that show that just went down hill that last season.
It certainly did.
It will. I mean, but go watch season 2 with Moriarty. I mean, that's where it's at.
That's true.
So anyway, so that'll do it for our discussion on Sherlock Holmes and all things BBC. All right, so we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bong.
You're gonna do the British sirens. Yeah. They're so annoying. Under the sea, they lay away. Under the bubbles. No time for troubles.
You know what's a really good line in that is when he says,
Mm-hmm.
but under here we're off the hook, and I say, I understand that.
I
Play
get
on
it.
Words.
Guess you got me on the plate.
Yeah.